Welcome to Market Talk Weekly, discussing sales and marketing techniques to help you compete in the real estate market. We're here week after week to educate, inform, and encourage real estate professionals. And now, here's your host, real estate broker, instructor, and coach, Bryon Roth.
Some years back, I was teaching a class of fairly new agents, and there was one lady. She had actually been a real estate agent probably for about a year, but she hadn't been coming to these free classes that we offered at our brokerage on how to sell real estate. And she asked me a question, really just a simple question. How do I find people who want to buy and sell real estate? I mean, that's really what it comes down to, isn't it? How do we find people who want to buy and sell real estate? And the truth is, it's really not rocket science. There are really some tried and true prospecting techniques that have been used for years and years, and they work just as well today as they ever have. Now, when I first started in real estate, I get it. You know, where do we get home buyers and home sellers? Where can we find these people? And I struggled with that question, and I started reading books and looking online and taking every class I could possibly take to get the answers to these questions. And one of the answers is in expired listings. Expired listing is essentially just properties that are previously listed on the market by other agents but didn't sell within a specific time frame. And so they become expired and no longer active listings. That makes them available for anyone to try to list. In most multiple listing services offered by local associations, you're going to find a hot sheet. And on that hot sheet that you should be looking at every single day is the category of expired. And I remember running across this like I had just stumbled onto gold as a new agent. I was like, why isn't everybody doing this? Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's worth your time and effort. Here you've got folks who've already said to the world, we want to sell our home. And for whatever reason, their home didn't sell. And there's certainly a chance that they're going to be frustrated, and they may be upset with their agent, their current agent. So they may be really open to working with another agent to get to their goals. There have been some challenges working with expired over probably the last 3 years. Right now, it's June of 2023. So if we back up, over the last couple of years, expireds were like a thing of the past for a while. There was no such thing as expireds for a bit, because as soon as a home went on the market, it was just gobbled up by home buyers. Everybody was, 10, 20 offers and well over asking price. And so it was just crazy market. And so we didn't see the expireds. If you did, it was something really wrong with the house. But the good thing is the market's starting to shift, and the number of expireds has been on the rise in many markets, indicating a potential opportunity for real estate agents, to capitalize on. In fact, in some areas, it's up to 30% of listings expired without being sold. So that's, that's definitely opening up that opportunity again. I remember back, I think it was 2018 or 20. It was 2018, I believe. I was looking at statistics and watching some videos on expireds, and they made a prediction about the first day of the year that there was going to be this crazy amount of expired listings. And I thought, yeah, right. Well, we had a really good share of listings on a daily basis. It wasn't uncommon to come in and there's 60 expired listings, or something along those lines, 60, 100 expired listings. What I had been reading said on the first day of the year, you're going to see a huge number of expireds. And so I checked the first day of the year, January 1st, 8 o'clock in the morning, and there were over 1,400 expireds. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. Now, I'm in a market where our major city is only, maybe 100,000 people. Of course, we have other counties around it and smaller towns. But, man, I imagine in someplace like Los Angeles or New York, it was really crazy. So how do you work expired listings? What I would do is I would get up early in the morning. I'm talking I'd be at the office like 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I would bring up my hot sheet and I would print off all expired listings. And then I would go through my MLS and I would see if by chance any phone numbers or contact information was in there. Now, it used to be when I first started that it was required that the home seller's contact information, including phone number, be in the MLS. And that has kind of gone to the curb. And so most of the time what you see is the listing agent's contact information. You'll have the owner's name because that is still required, but you don't have the direct contact information. That makes it a little more challenging, but there are still ways around it. There are some really good programs out there geared towards real estate agents for prospecting that will allow you to pull up a map, circle a neighborhood, and get cell phone numbers and email addresses. Just do a search for geo-marketing and see what comes up. But man, some of these companies have some amazing software. And so if you get a subscription to one of those, then it makes it so much easier for you. Now, just a side note, before you start doing all this research and trying to find out how you can get in touch with them, just because it says it's expired in the MLS doesn't mean that they haven't relisted it. So it may be showing up on your hot sheet as expired. So you want to go through every single one of those expired listings and put in the address and make sure that it also doesn't have another category that's showing it as an active. So it's just showing you, for instance, just say 100 expired listings today. And so it's showing you the ones that actually the contract's expired, but it's not telling you right there whether they're active or not. And so you can click on that listing and look in the MLS and see what the status of that listing is. And it'll tell you whether it's active or expired. So it could be that you got there was an agent who was like really on the ball and they had it seamlessly, went from expired status and boom, it's right back to active. So you want to make sure you're not doing all that work for an active listing. Finding the person's contact information might be the most challenging part of this. You could just do a search for the person and see, what comes up on Google. You could look them up on Facebook. If that's all I've got, like if I can't get in touch with them, let's say that they don't live in the house that they're trying to sell, and I cannot figure out a way to contact them. If I find their Facebook page, I'm sending them a message. I mean, it's like a Hail Mary. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get a message to them that I want to talk to them about their listing and that I can sell it. So what if you can't find their phone number, can't find them on social media or Google? Then I would suggest go to their house and see if they are living there. I mean, really, go knock on the door. And what I usually do, I will have a marketing plan in my hand. And if I can create a comparative market analysis on that house, I'll do that too. But I will tell you that you have a very small time frame to get this listing. One, because the current listing agent is going to try to relist it, but also because other agents are going to be jumping on it. So you have to work fast. You can't send them a letter, okay? Now, you could send them a letter if you time it right, but you've got to time it right. So if we go into the MLS, you can look up and you can see when a property is going to expire, when that contract with the current agent is going to expire. And so if you timed it right, you could get it to them on time. Now, once you're able to make contact with the home sellers, there's one very, very important question you want to ask them. And it is, do you still want to sell? Because if their contract was 6 months and they got to the end, they may be contemplating, you know what, maybe it's not meant to be, or maybe this isn't the right time to sell, maybe we're not the right market, maybe something has changed and they've started shifting their thoughts back to staying in the house. I actually was trying to sell a home years ago before I was a real estate agent, and it was a really bad market that I was in. In fact, the area that I lived in specifically had some issues. And so we had it listed for 6 months, and I think maybe one person came through. And so by the end of that 6 months, we were just like, you know what, isn't the time to sell. It's not meant to be. So we refocused ourselves and settled in and decided that we didn't want to sell. Now, our agent would have relisted again for sure, but we just changed our mind. We just changed our goals in our life and decided to stay where we were for a while longer. So once I get the answer that they do indeed want to sell, the next thing is I want to tour the house. I'm going to take notes of things. And I've talked about this a lot in other podcasts. This is really what I'm doing is I'm building rapport with them, and I'm starting to build a relationship and trust with them. And so when I'm walking around, I'm always looking for things that I can relate to with this person. And you all know from hearing my past podcasts that I'm a fisherman, especially fly fishing. I love hiking and outdoor stuff, just about anything outdoors, love animals. So all those things that I could relate to. I'm also a father, husband, and so there's those on the board too. There's just so many things that we can relate to people about. And so as I'm walking through and I see things that catch my eye that I know that I can relate to, I'm going to talk about them. And I'm just going to get them to really open up to me, hopefully, and start a dialogue that's going to start building that rapport with them. And let me just tell you, never, never, never say anything negative about the house. Always point out what's great about the house. I don't care if it's a dump, if the house is about to fall down. You find something about that house to talk positively about so that they believe that you can sell that house. Because if you're walking through and you say, have you thought about fixing this or fixing that? Or, what is that strong odor in this house? Anything along those lines, anything negative, they're just going to believe in their minds that you're another agent that can't sell their house. So stay focused on the positive during the tour. And when I sit down with them, I'm going to ask them some questions like, hey, where are you guys going to move when you finally do sell your house? Have you already found another home? And then I get into things like, why do you think your home didn't sell? And this is really important to get their mindset as to why they believe the home didn't sell. And a lot of times you're going to hear them talk about the agent. Well, I signed the listing agreement and I didn't hear anything else from them. And every time I called to get an update, all I got was their voicemail and no answer. And I would have to call their office to get them to call me back, and on and on and on. And that might be true because that is a typical issue with real estate agents, is that they don't communicate effectively once they get the listing. However, it could be that it's overpriced at no fault of the listing agent. And that's important to know. It's important to know whether the listing agent overpriced the home or the seller priced the home, because it's so much easier to bring them down to where the home needs to be if the listing agent suggested the price and they agreed on it. And then finally, I just ask them what they're looking for in their next agent. And typical response is someone who can sell my house, but also probably somebody who communicates effectively and keeps them in the loop. I mean, come on, you're listing someone's house, put yourself in their place. You need to be in constant communication. And constant communication looks like once a week at least, on a minimum, okay? That you should contact them once a week and let them know what's going on, even if nothing is going on. If you do that and you're in constant contact with them and keeping them informed, if for some chance it doesn't sell at the end of the contract, they're going to be more likely to go with you because they're going to know what's going on with their house every step of the way, all through the process. From week to week, you're going to be keeping them in the loop. And so then they're not going to have to speculate why their home didn't sell. Now, most of the time when I'm working with customers or potential clients, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and I don't want to pressure people into making a decision. However, you may have one shot for this expired listing, and because they're upset with the previous real estate agent, they may have set up multiple meetings with multiple agents. So this may be your only shot to make a good impression and to get them to sign a contract. So the one thing that I always take with me is an exclusive right to represent seller on every listing appointment. I don't care about the MLS input sheet or any of the other documents I need to get them to sign. That's the only one I need them to sign, and that's the one that says, yes, I want to work with you. I take this even on new listings, and people will say, well, I'm not ready to list. We still want to do a few things. We're about a month away, and so I will just put a listing date of a month away, but I still have their signature on it. And so you've got to ask for the business. That needs to be the last thing that you do, is that you're going to ask the people to allow you to sell their home. If you're not going to ask for it, don't expect it. If you ask and they say, well, I've got other people I need to talk to, I've got scheduled, you can always just say, do you feel comfortable with me and the information I've given you? And if you do, is your appointments with the other agents the only thing preventing you from going with me? If they say yes, hey, I can contact the other agents and let them know that you've already decided to go with me. That's not a problem. If they say no and they say, well, I really want to see these other agents and hear what they have to say, then set a time and a date that you can revisit them, preferably in person, that you can come back and you can talk about getting that listing. One final note as I wrap up this episode. For any listing, you should have a value proposition developed. For home sellers, the biggest expense of selling their home is going to be your commission. And so with anything, we like to know what we're getting for our money and why you're worth that commission. So the simplest thing is just provide them in the listing appointment your marketing strategy. And it should be a step-by-step, week by week. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the sign up. I'm going to do flyers. I'm going to do an open house. On and on and on from week to week to week, what I'm going to do so that they know what they're paying for. And also, why are you worth it? Tell them about your company. Tell them about your past sales and experiences. If you're a new agent and you don't have many, or maybe you don't have any at all, you can always talk about your team, which is your brokerage, and utilize their power and their past sales and their performance to market this particular listing. Prospecting expired listings can be so lucrative by utilizing a combination of traditional and then also modern techniques. You can identify, market, and then ultimately sell these properties. And with some hard work and the right approach, you can tap into a significant source of business that many of your competitors are overlooking.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Market Talk Weekly. Visit our website at markettalkweekly.com for more real estate resources. And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of Market Talk Weekly.